What is going on today, guys? It is Lucky here, flying solo on Anime Casuals, and, I decided to just throw some more content out there, because what the fuck, man? Keeping it casual. I just kind of I was thinking to myself, because one of my friends and I were talking about my favorite anime character, or anime male protagonist is Guts. Actually, yeah, I'll just say anime character in general is Guts from Berserk, and one of the biggest things I was trying to kind of figure out was, I guess, why that is, and there's like a number of reasons why. I mean, he's a badass character. He kind of like what we were talking about in the male protagonist video. If you want to check that out, it's I think it's about like 3 or 4 videos back. But one of the biggest things that I really like about him is, and you'll see this a little bit in the anime. I can't remember if it's as illustrated as, I mean, of course it's intended to portray, it portrays this, of course, but in the anime there was this really cool, and I know the anime has kind of got some mixed reviews in terms of Berserk 2016, but there's a part in the anime right after, I won't say too much, I'm not here to spoil the anime or anything, but there's a point after a very big event where one of his companions, and this is after the the very first season, or the very first, I guess, turning point, I'll say. So, like I said, I'm not trying to make this a spoiler video. So, one of his companions kind of says, this guy is facing, like, demons and just the craziest stuff, and he ends up saying something along the lines of "We're gonna survive the night" and that kind of thing, and it's just like. That's the biggest thing about Guts, is even though he is one of the most depressing, he has one of the most depressing backstories. He also has one of the most hopeful. He has one of the most hopeful demeanors, which may not come off very well in terms of how gruff he is and all that kind of stuff. But you gotta also think about where he's coming from, and what he's facing on a daily basis. Like I said, I won't get too much into that. What I will get into, which might be a little bit on the spoiler side, is just this fact that he never gives up, and you'll see in each big major fight that he does, a lot of times he'll be at a disadvantage in some way or another, but he'll do anything, and it's very clear that he'll do anything to win that engagement because he has something to go to fight for. In the beginning, it's a very different thing that he fights for. It's for when he joins. This is going to get kind of a little bit spoiler in the very beginning part of it. When he joins the Band of the Hawk, he has a family now, so that family becomes his fuel, and it becomes what he fights for now. So he fights for Griffith and all that kind of stuff, and so and then post Band of the Hawk. There is a big, he starts fighting for Casca. Another spoiler right there. Sorry about that. But he starts fighting for Casca, and he's still fighting he still has something to fight for, which, I guess you could say maybe what happens if he has nothing to fight for. Well, that's a very good question, but the fact that he's willing to risk it all for whatever he believes in. Which seems like it's been kind of instilled in him since a very early age, being a mercenary. But I really like this idea that you can derive hope from some of the most hopeless situations. Like that's kind of where hope comes from. Kind of like how light shines brightest in the dark. When the sun's out and everything, and you turn on a flashlight. Well, you're not going to see the flashlight very well unless you're looking right at it. You're just like, oh, it is on. Perfect. So, when you do that kind of thing. But when you actually turn it on at night, all of a sudden you can see that from the next house. Though, like if the other day, the power went out on the whole block, and you could just see everybody like turning on lights, flashlights, using their smartphones or whatever to illuminate everything. But you could see that. Typically, on a bright day, you're not seeing all this technology kind of go forth, and that's in a way we always look at the sky for hope, and in a lot of stories we kind of look at especially we look at the stars. Excuse me. We look at the stars for hope. In religion we look to heaven, but the sky. If there's a bunch of light pollution in the city, you won't see the stars up there. So it's only when you're in a place where it has literally no light that you can see the lights up there, which kind of adds to this whole thing about Guts. Is he lives in a dark, dark world, and it's very hard to find a light to go towards. For the Northern Light, excuse me, the North Star was a big metaphor for hope. Follow the North Star. That's that kind of idea. And yeah, so it's for me. I really like this idea of. Just because it's very relatable in terms of everyday situations. When you look at an impossible situation, and I call it impossible, with quotation marks, just because I don't think any situation's completely impossible. It just kind of depends on how you look at it, and that's not to be optimistic about it. It's just saying there's lots of ways for you to move forward without going backwards. You just need to figure out a way past that obstacle, and so yeah, that's why I really like this story of Guts, and that was just kind of something that I was thinking about, literally right now. I just want to kind of get off my chest. But what do you guys think? What do you think that do you think that you really need to be tested in order for hope to rise in you? One thing that I like to put out there is that you need to be able to hit rock bottom to know where it is. Very similar to whenever you see a movie and they're looking down like this really long, like deep well or something like that, and they're just like, I wonder how deep it is, and they take like some object and they just drop it, and they're like, whoa, it's so deep, or whatever, and it goes on forever. But if it goes on forever, they need to still go down there and check. We were just watching Alien vs Predator, and that's what made me think about it. This kind of cliche, but sometimes you literally have to go down and kind of see where that bottom is to know that you maybe never want to go back there again. And it's just everybody has their own rock bottom. So in my opinion, sorry, this is me getting kind of deep here. In my opinion, it's kind of everybody has their own rock bottom, so it's hard. You can't really compare it to another person's rock bottom, because depending on where they are in their life, it differs quite a bit. So do you guys think that's a true statement, or do you think that you can compare rock bottoms? And do you think you really need to hit it in order to figure out where it is, or do you think you might be able to just get close to it and realize, hey, maybe maybe I don't want to go this direction? And what do you think of hope what do you think about hope in the darkest hour of your life? That hope is really kind of shows when there's not really anything to be hopeful about. I mean, to be honest with you, that's when your hope is really tested. But do you guys believe in that, or do you believe that hope can arise in positive situations too? And do you think it's sustainable, I guess, would be another question. So there you guys have it. Again, Lucky here from Anime Casuals, and I hope you enjoyed a little anime philosophy for the day. Have a good one, guys, and remember to keep it casual.